Leader Snoke. We might have the Snoking gun on today's Nerdist news. It's so bad. It's so bad, I can't even sell it. Over the past few years, the Star Wars franchise has been through some pretty major stuff. It got all blowed up like Alderaan when Disney bought the rights and removed all traces of the expanded universe, the old comic books, novels, games, and other spin-offs from Star Wars canon. Now, like the second Death Star, that canon is being rebuilt with the introduction of new sequels, standalone prequels, and, of course, new comic books, novels, games, and other spin-offs. Chuck Wendig's Star Wars Aftermath books are one of the latest endeavors to permanently restructure the Star Wars universe, and like all good aftermaths, the series has left some pretty revelatory in its wake. And now that the final book in the series, Empire's End, has hit store shelves, we may finally be able to resolve some of Star Wars' most prickly mysteries. A few weeks ago, we cracked open the book's breakdown as to what happened to Jar Jar Binks after he brought down the Republic by convincing the Senate to turn over emergency powers to Supreme Chancellor Palpatine in Attack of the Clones. Spoiler alert, he's a homeless fountain clown. All I know.
He's embarrassing.
Also, though there aren't too many specifics, Empire's End addresses Luke Skywalker's lonely destiny after the events of Return of the Jedi. Apparently, the old New Hope goes on a space walkabout to find ancient relics and Jedi lore all over the galaxy, but when Leia has a Force dream, we find out that Luke is, quote, lost among the stars, searching for something and failing, never returning. It's a sad story, but hey, at least he's not a homeless fountain clown. Plus, if we're free to speculate, what he was searching for was probably just Rey, and we all know that he finds her or she finds him at the end of Force Awakens. So that's another destiny fulfilled by the Skywalker. Now, the book also discusses why everybody's all hot and bothered to get to Jakku, the desert planet setting for Force Awakens where Rey was abandoned. Turns out, Jakku is the site of the ultimate battle between the New Republic and the Empire and is home to a special observatory commissioned by Emperor Palpatine, which contains maps that delineate routes through a territory in space called the Unknown Region. Hey, it is no homeless fountain clown, but it does bring us to perhaps the book's most important revelation, the origins of Supreme Leader Snoke. Now, ever since we met the giant busted-up hologram in Force Awakens, people have been wanting to know who the F Snoke is. Some have speculated that he's really Darth Plagueis, the Sith Lord mentioned briefly in the prequels who was Palpatine's old master and had the ability to create life and death with the Force. Others have guessed that Snoke is a character introduced in the Aftermath series known as Gallius Rax, a particularly Machiavellian member of Palpatine's inner circle, who was tasked with delivering a contingency plan should the Emperor suffer an untimely demise, which, spoiler alert, he does. But double spoiler alert, so does Gallius Rax in Empire's End when he's killed by Admiral Ray Sloane, so that theory at least has been put to bed. And most controversially, a Redditor named Loompa Waru chilled the internet to its core when he hypothesized that Supreme Leader Snoke was actually Jar Jar Binks.
Misa back.
But as I mentioned earlier, Empire's End put the kibosh on that theory by turning Jar Jar into a homeless fountain clown. So who the F is Supreme Leader Snoke? Well, given the events of Star Wars Aftermath, we're still not exactly sure. However, and this is a big however, the series does give us some useful dirt. In Empire's End, Gallius Rax observes that Emperor Palpatine was obsessed with the aforementioned unknown region, believing that, quote, something waited for him out there, some origin of the Force, some dark presence formed of malevolent substance. Rax brushes this off as a form of space Alzheimer's and thinks no more of it. Little does he know, though, that somewhere across the galaxy, Leia Organa is being tormented by a dark force that seems to be fixated on her unborn child, who we all know grows up to be spoiled hipster Sith wannabe Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren is a punk bitch.
Finally, at the end of Empire's End, using coordinates he procured from Jakku, Admiral Sloane discovers the Eclipse, a Star Destroyer ominously hidden in the mazy unknown region. Though we never find out who is on the ship, author Chuck Wendig frames this event as the birth of the First Order, and based on what the book tells us, it seems likely that the Dark Force in contact with both Leia and Palpatine is Supreme Leader Snoke, an ancient being tied to the origins of the Force itself, lying in wait for the right time to emerge from the darkness. So who is Snoke? Turns out, Snoke is Snoke, an immortal cosmic menace that could ultimately be more powerful than Emperor Palpatine himself. While that sounds a little Thanos-y to us, we highly doubt that Disney is planning a Star Wars Infinity Wars crossover, so for now, we're going to stick with Snoke as an entity unto himself. How will Snoke differ from the other Star Wars villains? Are you intrigued or disappointed by the fact that Snoke isn't Jar Jar Binks? And if Disney did make a Star Wars Marvel crossover, how would any of us ever recover? Let's discuss. And are you guys ready to go a little apey because King Kong is back and he's both kingier and kongier than ever? In Kong Skull Island, the colossal gorilla will go a special kind of bananas when a scientific expedition crashes his island paradise and pokes around where it doesn't belong. Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, Brie Larson, John Goodman, and John C. Reilly star in this classic tale of monster versus man, revealing once and for all how Kong became king. Grab the nearest vine and swing off to get your tickets because the gargantuan monkey business is going down, starting right now.